25 years of impactful journalism. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from the Joy 99.7 FM studios here in Kukumlimle. Our digital address GA0993341 is live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. Affiliates across the country, including Pad FM in Damango, Kwando FM in Kwando. We are around the world at myjoyonline.com. In this edition, Ghana in the process of containing spread of COVID-19 as new infections and active cases see significant drop. But when are we likely to get out of the woods? We have some analysis for you.
Positivity rate dropped from 65% at the start of August to 10% on September 1, signaling the country's strategy may be working.
Also in this package, campaigning in the COVID era, virologist urges political parties to utilize technology and avoid addressing gatherings involving many people to prevent the spread of the virus.
The political parties, I think by now, as part of their strategies, will have to understand that virtual rallies, virtual platforms is one of the most effective ways to reach out to people now.
We'll tell you more, plus bring you a report on how enthusiastic party supporters have been ditching COVID-19 safety protocols. NADMO officials in Mamprugu district in the northeast region bemoan inability to provide relief items to communities cut off due to flooding from Bagri Dam spillage.
Those communities, we can only accept them by using cards. The load, all the two or three loads has been cut off. If not, you pass to upper East region.
We'll also tell you about the questionable leadership awards that's got social media talking. We'll hear from the initiator who insists the award scheme is credible.
This is an open thing that we just access. If anybody had problem with me or our institution, should have come to me or contacted us for clarification. You're calling us fake?
We have more. Social media has been buzzing with what has been described as a monumental scam in sports.
Managing Director of Accra Hearts of Oak, Frederick Moore, calls on members of the Ghana Football Association to vote out Keto Kweku if the FA president fails to meet expectations. And Kwame Eugene is coming to the Joy Sports FIFA 20 face-off. And
we'll talk about Kitty, who's become the latest Ghanaian to make it to the US Billboard Top Thriller Global Chart barely 3 days after the release of his Say Cheese remix featuring American record producer Teddy Riley. Say cheese, take a picture, take a picture, say cheese, take a picture. We have that and more coming up here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apawu. Please stay for details. Thanks for your company. We get into the details now. And Ghana is nearing effective containment of COVID-19 as latest data supplied by the Ghana Health Service reveals significant reduction in active cases and new infections. In its latest updates, the service says active cases have dropped below the 1,000 case mark to 856, the lowest in months. Head of our health desk, Fred Smith, reports.
The data reveals 4 new deaths, bringing the death toll to 280. But there is some good news about the country's battle with SARS-CoV-2. Positivity rate dropped from 65% at the start of August to 10% on September 1, signaling the country's strategy may be working. Only 55 positive cases were reported from the labs in the last update, one of the lowest recorded in many weeks. But it takes Ghana's case count to 44,713. Of this number, as many as 97.5% of patients have recovered. So far, 4 of the 16 regions are without any active case, whilst others are reporting single or double-digit figures. Only 3 regions, Greater Accra, Central and Ashanti, have active cases above 100. It may still not be time to rejoice yet, as further easing of the restrictions could trigger a second wave. The reopening of the country's international airports and the possible start of political rallies all point to risks requiring significant attention.
That's our head of our health desk, Fred Smith, with that report. Let's get some more insight into this. And Dr. John Amwesi is a lecturer, Global Health Department, School of Public Health, KNUST. He's also leader, Global Health and Infectious Disease Research Group, KCCR. He joins us on the line with more on this. Dr. Amwesi, so is this a good sign of good things to come, or are we out of the woods yet?
Thank you very much. Emefa, and good afternoon to all your listeners all over the country and the world. Um, with COVID-19, it's been a very difficult thing to use the science that we have to be able to predict what would happen, largely on account of the kind of data that we've collected to date. So, the question as to whether it's a sign of good things to come or whether we're out of the woods, it's a bit tricky to answer, and I need to give you a bit of background to help you to appreciate how best we ought to see this, in a very holistic way. One thing we can say for sure is that things are better than they used to be. Things have improved, and this is pretty obvious to everyone. If you look at the various kinds of graphs and other information that we put out there, it's pretty apparent that we have made some giant strides. However, being a sign of good things to come is very tricky to predict because we have seen very clearly that this disease is able to rebound. This disease is able to come back even stronger than before. I'll just give you a couple of examples, and I don't mean to necessarily say that things are going to get bad again, but as I said, I just want to help us put things in perspective. Look at a country like New Zealand, not nowhere near Ghana, of course, but this was a country that had been touted with, doing so well with COVID-19. They had gone 3 straight months with not a single case. We're not talking about a single death, not a single case at all, until just a few days after they celebrated that milestone. Then a few cases popped up, and now they have well over 25 deaths or so in New Zealand. All right. You look at what's going on in Hong Kong, what has gone on in South Korea, even currently regarding a rebound, and what is currently going on also in Europe, post people returning from their summer holidays. What this should tell you is that when things get better, it is time to double down and time to really do more of the right thing rather than to suggest one is out of the woods just now.
Okay, so that said, we are to tread cautiously in opening up the country. But some have also raised concerns about the likelihood of us getting a new strain of the virus following the resumption of international flights, for instance. And do we have what it takes to handle it from what you've seen?
Well, regarding reopening, I've always maintained that once you increase access to the country or there's more movement, so two things, more gathering and more movement will always lead to an increase in the rate of spread of the disease. This is natural. So what you need to do is that at the points where people gather and at the points where people enter, to put in place measures which will reduce people from spreading infection. So we're focusing now on the points at which people enter, which is at our borders, primarily at our airports. And this is why, from my understanding, certain screening measures have been put up so that everyone who's coming in is getting tested. Those who are positive will be isolated and will be treated. Now, this is supposed to work, but is definitely not going to be foolproof. There will always be people who will slip through the net. The question is how many will slip through the net. If we are to follow through with exactly what we have proposed, then you anticipate that very few people should slip through the net, and all those who come in and are positive will be isolated and treated. I must mention that when you think about doing this kind of testing for people who are coming into the country, it's very important also to look at the rate at which they are coming into the country. This also certainly has an impact on the probability that someone would slip through. And to speak to your other question regarding another strain of the virus, what we know to date is that there has been some mutation. But the very interesting thing that we know from the mutation that has been discovered so far in a second wave in parts of Southeast Asia, particularly in Hong Kong, is that this strain is actually less virulent than the strain that was there before, which scientists are still grappling to understand. So it's a certain part of the gene of the virus which has been deleted or which doesn't exist anymore, and so makes the virus less, not less infectious, but it causes less severe disease. Okay. Now, how this has happened, we cannot really explain, but yes, it's possible we can get new strains. So far, when it comes to mutations in new strains, we're having less virulent strains, but you can never really tell what will happen beyond that.
We're grateful for your time. That's Dr. John Amwesi. He's a lecturer, Global Health Department, School of Public Health. He's also with the KCCR, giving us some analysis and insight on this situation as we have it now. Our cases have gone down beyond. That's our active cases. They've dropped below 1,000 case mark. We are at 856. And it's time to get into the election headquarters. This time, political activities, like many other aspects of public life, have been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. Government is yet to lift the ban on large rallies that were features of previous elections. The politicians are nonetheless going about meeting interest groups, chiefs, and engaging in door-to-door interactions with candidates. OT regional correspondent Peter Steno last week followed NDC flag bearer John Mahama, who visited the OT region and noticed enthusiastic party supporters ditch their masks in an attempt to get closer and have a better view of the politician.
Drumming and dancing were what preceded his arrival. These intensified when John Mahama finally arrived. This woman, with her shoes, if you like, could not hide her joy. The entourage was mobbed in every community along the way to Dambai, the regional capital.
So as John Mahama moved, the crowd got too close and many could be seen without their mask on. Social distancing was completely forgotten as party supporters cheered on.
And same was seen when the president also visited other parts of the country. But virologist at the KCCR, Dr. Michael Owusu, says political parties must make use of technology, as the ban on large rallies should not be lifted anytime soon.
What we are doing now is more of a blind way of trying to contain the virus. We don't have evidence in terms of sero-epidemiological data to understand how many people already have built immunity or have been infected already, have even recovered, or how many are yet to be infected, because we are not sure what will happen out there. So it will be in our own interest for us to have patience and at least go through a point where we have at least zero active case counts and completely zero deaths. And we think that things are really under control before we can allow these counter activities to work.
In terms of the COVID protocols, is there an appropriate way the political parties can still reach out to people in a manner that does not endanger them in terms of the spread of the virus?
Well, I think that political parties, I think by now, as part of their strategies, will have to understand that virtual rallies, virtual platforms is one of the most effective ways to reach out to people now. Even if you want to reach out to people, it has to be within some small groups of people. If it's a house to house, it has to be with minimal numbers, social distancing, and people in mask.
You have the virologist Dr. Michael Owusu speaking to my colleague Joseph Akable. Let's bring in a political scientist, Dr. Kwame Asasante. We're grateful for your time here on the Midday News. So we all know how important these large political rallies are, but the times are not normal. We've heard Dr. Owusu suggest door-to-door and technology. How effective, in your opinion, will this campaign tool be in this era?
Strictly speaking, because of the COVID and its protocols, all that we need is to go along that line where we resort to the use of virtual online platforms such as, Facebook and the rest. The research has shown that in Ghana, the most credible and the most effective medium is radio. So political parties can resort to the use of radio, followed by television. And for the new media, they can look at WhatsApp platforms and Facebook. At least they have a lot of following.
And the impact can be likened to the large political rallies that we see with the Choboys and all.
Yeah, it is true that political rally is the most effective way to campaign. But the times that we find ourselves, we have no choice than to look elsewhere. So the best way is to move on to radio. And because radio, because of local language content, people are able to follow, and it's so easy. And it's all over everywhere. So people can rely on that. And then television, WhatsApp, Facebook, where they are very close to people, right? In order to avoid even close contact, issue of gestures can come in. Because research has shown that about 93.6% of Ghanaians believe in the use of gestures. Yeah, as a part of the things that influence their choices. Message, just couch your message very well, and then develop it into a gesture, and then you send a message out there.
Free consultation there to the political parties. Not political scientist, Dr. Kwame Asasante. We'll stay on issues of campaigning because the running mate of the National Democratic Congress, flag bearer, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, is continuing her tour of the Western North region. She has described as financial loss to the state abandoned projects across the country. According to her, the situation where projects undertaken by the Eswal NDC administration were left to rot is unacceptable. She was speaking to media men when she made a stopover at the abandoned Day Senior High School project site at Asampani of the Joaboso constituency.
From even this tree that has had the space to grow so tall that the project has been abandoned for a while. We have seen gravels overgrown by weeds and shrubs, iron rods that have disappeared, so many things that should have gone into this project to make it beneficial to many people. Now here we are. If we have to return to this project, definitely we have to do re-evaluation, we have to spend more money. And all of this cannot be very, very helpful to us as a nation. So the whole habit of abandoning projects that have started well, it's not as if we just cut the sword and abandoned it. We have started, the foundations are done, the columns are being raised. You can all see the images beside me and behind me. And so, I mean, what does one say to this? If there's not financial loss, what is it? I think this is unacceptable.
We'll stay on the NDC. Now, this time, the flag bearer of the party, former President John Mahama, has described the implementation of the new Patriotic Party's One Village, One Dam program as a monumental waste of taxpayers' money. He said most of the dugouts constructed contain no water and others have very little, consumable by a few cattle. Mr. Mahama has been touring the Upper West region and was addressing a deba at Mangwe in the Wa East District.
One Village, One Dam. Eventually, it turned out that we were talking about dugouts, and so they've not even done the dugouts properly. Because one, in the dry season, when we did an assessment of the One Village, One Dam, most of them were not able to hold water. By January, February, all of them were dry, and there was no water in them. Others too, when the rainy season came, and the rain came down, it broke the dam, and the water washed away. And so, when the minister was hanged, he says, oh, but I think the dams we're talking about, he says, but what dams do you expect for 250,000 Ghana cedis? We didn't say how much you were going to say. It's a 1 million One Dam. And she said, oh, to build a new dam, you need 3 million Ghana cedis. I said, but that's what you promised us. Because the dams we need are not the dams, the dugouts that you dug for us. The dams we need are supposed to put our young people to work.
You heard the former President John Dramani Mahama. Now to the governing NPP, because the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is also continuing his tour of the Northern region. Martina Bugri joins us with the very latest. Martina, so we understand Dr. Bawumia has been talking about his government boosting agriculture. Tell us a bit more about that.
I didn't get what you said. Can you repeat again?
I'm asking you to bring us up to speed on what Dr. Bawumia has been up to.
Well, today he's visiting Tatale, Zabzugu, and then Saboba. But they went ahead this morning to Tatale. We are currently at Zabzugu waiting for the Vice President to return, where he'll be addressing party faithful at the Assembly Park. Now, I've been speaking to some people ahead of the Vice President's coming, and their expectations are that they have issues of bad roads, they have electricity issues, and then they also have unemployment issues. And so they are expecting the Vice President to tell them policies government is putting in place to address these issues in their community.
That's my colleague Martina Bugri bringing us up to speed on what the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has been up to in the Northern region. This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, officials of the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, in Mamprugu, Moiduri districts in the Northeast region have bemoaned their inability to provide relief items to communities cut off due to flooding from the Bagri Dam spillage. The flooding, also worsened by days of heavy rainfall, caused the collapse and washing away of already deplorable bridges and roads, cutting off a large part of the district from the region. Hundreds of hectares of farmlands and crops assets have also been submerged and destroyed in the district capital, Yagaba. The local market was also flooded and traders without any option abandoned trading. Here are some of the traders who spoke to Joy News.
Affect the business a lot. When it's rain, the market woman has nowhere to sit and sell. Even those that having stores there, it will be difficult for them to open their stores, and it will be difficult for the customers to access the area and buy the items.
Meanwhile, the district NADMO coordinator, Emefa Apawu, confirms roads are cut off and residents trapped. He says the situation is proving a challenge for NADMO officials to distribute relief items.
And those communities cut off, you know, we have volunteers in those communities. We can only accept them by using canoes. They should be monitoring anything happening through this opening of this Bakri Dam water. In case it affects, if anything happens like this, the first of famous, we have to do something to protect human life. And the communities who have been submitted with water, they haven't received any bad news. But if the rains continue or if the water level continue, many communities will also join.
You heard there, Emefa Apawu is the district NADMO coordinator. We'll take a quick break on the Midday News. When we return, we'll tell you about the questionable leadership awards that has got social media talking. We'll hear from the initiator who insists the award scheme is credible.
This is an open thing that we did access. If anybody had problem with me or our institution, should have come to me or contacted us for clarification. You're calling us fake?
We have more. Our social media has been buzzing with what has been described as a monumental scam. And later, we focus on Kiddy. He's become the latest Ghanaian to make it to the U.S. Billboard Top Thriller Global Chart barely 3 days after the release of his Say Cheese remix featuring American record producer Teddy Riley. Say cheese, take a picture. Take a picture. Say cheese, take a picture. Where's your award? Feeding bottle or horse? Which one did you get?
I like Trojan horse.
Give me sports.
Now, Managing Director of Accra Heart of Oak, Frederick Moore, says it is incumbent on members of the Ghana Football Association to vote out Keto Kweku and the other members of the Executive Council if they fail to meet expectations. Mr. Moore led a 3-member compensations committee which proposed 12,000 Ghana cedis, 7,000 and 4,000 Ghana cedis as monthly allowance for the President, his vice, and remaining members of the Executive Council, respectively.
For any job that you do, for any role that you play, you're not paid just on your certificate or the fact that you're there, but for the role that you're playing. And that role has to be, for the salary you get, it has to have an accountability. We are looking for effort. You saw the conversation that went on at the budget time where people were saying, the ESCO should work to get surpluses. If you're going to ask people to work to get surpluses and you're saying, I'm not going to reward you, it's not, look, you can't have it both ways. We need an ESCO in Ghana. We need a football association in Ghana that can take Ghana to the next level. And if they are rewarded and they don't take Ghana to the next level, then it is incumbent on the rest of us to vote them out.
So Kwame Eugene is coming to the Joy Sports FIFA 20 face-off, and guess who is coming up against? Is he a social media influencer? Kojo Sheldon is the man who will be playing against Kwame Eugene in the Joy Sports FIFA 20 face-off tomorrow.
Hey.
Yeah. So he could be making it 2 out of 2 as far as awards are. Probably 3 if we had a UN leadership award.
Get out of here. That's Hans Mensman. I have more on that later on. Now, if you're a lover of rabbits, you should be interested in this. A strange viral disease which has killed 20,000 rabbits in 12 out of the 16 regions of Ghana. More than 10,000 rabbits have died in 6 months on rabbit farms in Ashanti region alone from the new rabbit hemorrhagic disease. Veterinary health authorities are warning the situation threatens the rabbit industry, especially government rearing for food and jobs. Prince Apia has more in this report.
40-year-old farmer Safford Johnson has been rearing rabbits since 2013 at Pechi number 2 close to Kumasi. He had high expectations for his 350 rabbits but has lost all of them to the rabbit hemorrhagic disease.
Within 4 days, over 300, almost 400.
During the period, I buried 2 sacks of rabbits every morning. Within 4 days, I lost over 300 rabbits.
The rabbit hemorrhagic disease has become a veterinary worry worldwide since last year. It is a highly contagious viral disease of rabbits. It doesn't present any major symptoms, but initiates sudden swift death to the animals. Ashanti is the hardest hit. George Abuaje is another rabbit farmer that has been badly affected.
I've lost everything.
Well, sad news for the rabbit kebab lovers. But social media has been buzzing with memes and comments about musicians, journalists who received what many have described as questionable and fake UN awards. The initiator of the award has been accused of using the United Nations to make the awards appear credible. There's more in this report.
It's Kwame Owusu-Fodwo, the man who created a questionable awards event and handed out several silverware to celebrities in Ghana. Already, the story of how he managed to pull off what many have described as monumental scam has been trending for hours. So we called him to find out what his motivation was.
Because I'm surprised. This is an open thing that we did advert. If anybody had problem with me or our institution, should have come to me or contacted us for clarification. You're calling us fake. I don't know the root. People even are threatening me now, but I have to say it. But they are politicizing things. That's why I never wanted to answer any media house this morning. I have been an underdog for development, for excellence in honoring others, attaching myself to global icons and leadership to bring this out.
That's the report put together. Sorry, I can't just hold it. We'll get to that shortly because Becky has joined me in the studio. Did you get one?
No.
Feeding bottle, chariot, or hand of God? Which one did you receive?
I know that Nat's got the chariot.
I haven't mentioned it.
But we haven't been paying attention.
Which one did you give Blackhead?
The golden feeding bottle.
And Sakodi also got what?
Golden feeding bottle. So because of this award, we haven't been paying attention to Kiddy. Kiddy is making Ghana proud. Here is the report.
I got a girl, she a London thing. She wanna roll and smoke one thing. I want to give her a diamond ring, but she say other girls like my thing. She make my heart.
Kiddy and popular American producer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist Teddy Riley released a remix of the former's hit song Say Cheese on 1st September 2020.
I got a girl, she a London thing. She wanna roll and smoke one thing. I want to give her a diamond ring, but she say other girls like my thing. She make my heart beat.
This comes after the Grammy Award-winning producer had expressed interest in working with the Ghanaian artist in April. The two got together and remixed Kiddy's Say Cheese, the first song on his EP, Blue.
Take a picture, say cheese, take a picture, take a picture, say cheese, take a picture.
The producer added new depth to the song using new beats and introducing some backing vocals to the song.
You know the groove, only why they miss my move.
But few days after its release, Say Cheese remix have made it to the Billboard Top Thriller Global Chart.
Baby, say cheese, take a picture. Shut up, make a see, take a picture. Say cheese, take a picture.
Kitty deserves the golden feeding bottle. Together with
and the hand all together, plus the plug.
Yes.
And we're distributing this in a taxi.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Becky. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Our Arrival Life tip for today: keep 100% of your attention on driving at all times. No multitasking. Don't use your phone or any other electronic device while driving. Arrival Life is brought to you by Toyota Ghana and Bedrock Insurance. Ameli, what's coming up in business at 1?
Well, government will be borrowing 22 billion cedis for the next 3 months. We'll bring you all the details at 1 p.m., so stay tuned.
And more lessons abound as Pastor Mensa Otabil brings you part 4 of the new series, It's a New Season on Living Word. Right after this, I am Emefa Apawu.
Look at you.